Hey, what's up everybody? Mr. Blurberjack here today. Anyways, this is a video about me talking about how I got my ACL torn. Feel happy to comment, subscribe, whatever you want to freaking do, I don't care. I just want to get this thing off my chest and have you guys go through the experience of me getting an ACL surgery sooner than later. Okay, for some reason it's super hot in California for no goddamn reason. So I'm going to have my fan on through the entire video, and if you hear anything, just know it's that. Anyways, you guys know me for all my drawings and how much I like anime and video games and all that kind of nerd stuff. But you don't know my other life where I play football and I'm a student athlete. And if you do, you probably go to school with me. I tore my ACL back in October, and I hadn't had a surgery since. If you want my opinion on what it's like to not have surgery with an ACL tear, it's absolutely the f***ing worst. Not only at times does your leg feel unstable, but it makes you more afraid in case you're going to hurt yourself again. Plus, you can kiss that scholarship goodbye. They don't take injured athletes. And I know what you're telling yourself. Why don't you just wear an ACL brace? That doesn't freaking work. It's not there to prevent another tear for your leg from locking out of place. And it doesn't make you 100% proficient when you don't have a surgery done. So, if you want to go back out there with a torn ACL and act like a badass and stuff, be my guest. But I'm getting surgery. Thank you very much. And honestly, after the week of tearing it, this thing was really fucking over my mind. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, this is where depression starts to kick in. Although, don't worry, I was trying to do my best in order to make sure that thing didn't take me and pull me down to the depths of darkness. Basically, to clarify, my self-esteem was kinda lacking, but either way, I was still able to keep high spirits, and know that things were eventually gonna get better. Softy. Do you mind? I'm trying to record a video here. Anyways, let's get back on track. One thing that I know is that this is not uncommon. A lot of people get these sort of things. I was reminding myself that I was not in this situation alone. There are many people who dealt with even worser things. I mean, heck, even one of our teammates, Jack Coleman, earlier that year had cancer, and he combated it, and he actually got through it. He was cured of his cancer, so it made me feel like I could get through this as well. So yeah, depression wasn't too much of a problem for me, but everything after kind of felt like it was. Mainly this meant that I had to take a back seat on football. Oh, and this is not to say that I wasn't playing anymore. No. They thought that my ACL was totally intact the day that I tore it, which meant 3 weeks after of tearing it, they wanted me back on the field practicing again. Honestly, I was kind of scared out of my f***ing mind. The people that were supposed to be professionals in this told me, a kid with a torn ACL, to go back and play more football. And I play at Centennial High School, a school that goes all the way out through December. So you basically know what's happening by this point. I'm playing all the way throughout December on a torn ACL in full pads. Obviously, this was the worst point of my high school experience ever. If you're saying that I'm whining and I'm being a bitch about it, I couldn't even bend my own leg. I had to wear this makeshift knee brace that wasn't even anything close to an ACL brace. And of course, the plus side was that the knee brace would keep my leg from bending, but that also meant that I was hindered in my mobility of playing football, which meant that I couldn't start anymore. The coaches would get mad at me for not doing things the right way, because I might as well be mentally and physically handicapped by this point playing a professional sport. Let's start from the beginning, shall we? So, it was Centennial versus Santiago. At this point, I am a starting defensive lineman in high school as a senior, and I am 6'6" and I am 250. I've played football ever since I was 11, but when I got to high school, I was strictly an offensive tackle. It wasn't until senior year when they decided to put me on defense, and ever since then, I've been starting. But then here comes the game Centennial versus Santiago. Now honestly, I think this is something to actually mention. Tearing my ACL was my fault. It was entirely my fault. I'll take full responsibility over that. Now, why would I say something like that? That's because for every football game, I wear tights. Tights with knee pads on them. But since this was a home game, I had to wear black tights. But I didn't have black tights on. I only had white. So what did I do? Well, I put breast cancer awareness socks that felt tight, but at least they were able to cover up all the white. But then came the first play of the game. Now, when the quarterback threw the ball, we got a turnover right away. So naturally, everybody picks up the pace and starts running faster. One of our guys is running the ball all the way to the end zone. And of course, you've got linemen running their asses in order to catch him. As a defensive lineman, my job is to keep them from doing that. So I'm getting a pursuit angle and running as fast as possible. One of the offensive linemen are about to run into me, and I can't just let them hit me or else I'll just get hurt. So what do? I ended up blindsiding him, and when I did, he got sent to the hospital. So everybody was like, "Oh, you made him your bitch." Yeah, but I tore my ACL. Now, of course, I know what you're wondering. How in the hell did I tear my ACL by pushing somebody? Now, it's understandable that I fell wrong and my foot probably got caught up in a mess, but how did that result in a knee injury? Wouldn't that have been an ankle sprain? Honestly, I think it was because of the positioning of the sock. It was putting some pressure on the back of my knee. Probably near this part. Now, probably, of course, just a little bit more pressure and my leg being disaligned in a sort of fashion would cause a tear. All because I was trying to cover up something that was so minor, but because I play for a high school football team that's heavily advertised, I had to wear what was essential for the game. And this wasn't the only time where things like this would happen. We basically had to wear everything Nike. So that meant that if you lost a pair of cleats, you better hope you have another pair of Nike ones. And if you're wearing the wrong shirt, you better just not wear it entirely or just push it to where they don't see it. This was honestly the most annoying part about playing at Centennial. And it honestly makes me wish that I had played somewhere else. But in all cases, it's entirely my fault that I tore my ACL. When I pushed him, I fell awkwardly as much as he did, and all I did was tear my ACL, but at the time, I didn't hear anything. I just sort of felt it happen, and I wasn't even sure if that was actually a tear. So, offense was in because, of course, we got a penalty, and of course, we scored, so offense had to go in. I sort of limped off the field. Even though I did, one of the coaches were telling me to just shake it off. Even though I felt really weird, I stood on one leg, and for some reason, it was easy for me to shift over to the left. I wasn't sure why, and it was honestly kind of weird. At least a couple of the other players were telling me not to go back in because they thought that there was something seriously wrong with me. But of course, I had a job to do. So I go back in, do a couple of good plays here and there. I am officially at the top of my game. But then the very drastic play happens where I actually make a good play. But then in order to get back to the play, I end up twisting my leg really wrong. Of course, nobody knew what was going on at the time. So let me just diagnose myself. You had already had a torn ACL prior to this next injury. You torn your meniscus, you've bruised your bones, and stretched your PCL. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It hurt like a bitch, honestly, it did. And of course, I needed help off the field. When a trainer was doing all the ACL tests on my leg, he just concluded that my ACL wasn't torn. It was totally intact. I'm not going to fault him for anything because he did what he was supposed to and he got the reaction that he thought he needed and he was only doing his job. I mean, could you fault him? Besides having the minor side effects of having my ACL torn, my leg never shifted. But he told me I was totally able to go back in if I wanted to, which I replied, hell no, I'm not. So there I was, sitting on the bench. A lot of people were just saying, hey, what's up? Oh, hey. And I would just, hurt. But then my adrenaline was going down and it got super cold. It had finally gone to halftime and everybody was walking, but of course I couldn't. Everybody was probably looking at me and like, what's wrong with Tori? But then my dad came down and also another player and they helped me to the locker room so I could finally change and get out of there. Now, of course, the next logical thing that we did was go to the doctors. Even they couldn't diagnose the right fucking thing. They said that I had a freaking sprained hamstring. Basically, the doctor's reply was that if his ACL was torn, he wouldn't even be walking by now. But, obviously I was. Whatever. God damn this medical system. Anyways, I got another makeshift knee brace, and my mom ordered an ACL knee brace that didn't come until around February. But upon coming back to school, all the coaches got mad at me for going to the doctors. Now, I know what you're saying. Why would they be mad at you for going to the doctors? Typically, the doctors would give you a time frame to stay off of sports, maybe about 2 or 3 weeks, which in my case was 2. And the coaches want you to be out there once you get healed. So, say for instance, I felt bad and I felt a little sick, but the doctor said that I was out for the entire season. Of course, the coaches would be mad about that. And even I would see the frustration of that. But my ACL is torn. And obviously, I can't really walk well. And obviously, with the kind of injury that I have, even 4 weeks is not even enough. Man, you know what? Fuck this. I'm depressed. I'm gonna listen to some Nightcore.
Shut up and enjoy the night core.
But yeah, I was basically out for 2 weeks. I got a second opinion from a massage therapist that my mom knew from a friend at the time, and it turns out that he actually worked on D1 college players. Because once he concluded that I couldn't bend my leg, he was able to justify that my ACL was torn. But for me and my parents, it was kind of weird. We weren't really sure how to react to a situation like this, so we weren't exactly sure if the ACL was fully torn. But then, once my time was up, and I was supposed to be on the field for some reason, the coaches got mad at me on the 3rd week of having this injury, telling me that I should have been dressed. And of course I'm freaking out in my mind because I know that's not right. What if I hurt myself again? And I know you guys are wondering why I couldn't just tell them that I didn't want to play, but that's because I really couldn't. I had too much at stake. I wanted to get a scholarship and go over to a D1 school. At the time, and especially now, that's definitely what my dad wants. Although now I'm kind of older and I want that for myself now. But even then, I would have just told myself to just stop playing. Because even if I was going to play throughout the entire season with an injury, I'm definitely not going to get a scholarship. And especially, it's an ACL tear. That means that I would eventually have to get surgery. And what that means is I'm not going to be able to play this year, essentially. So, the 3rd week of game day, I dressed. And of course, I felt freaking awkward as hell. Even with a freaking makeshift knee brace on. But, you know, I got through it. Did it hurt? Fucking yeah, it did. But, you know, whatever. I was doing it for a good cause, you know, trying to get that scholarship, even though my intentions were totally fruitless. But then, finally, we lost against Jane San Bosco, and I couldn't have been any more happy. Now, honestly, it sucks that we lost, don't get me wrong, and I'm not going to be able to see everybody in full pads anymore that were in the high school level, but at least I can finally heal, you know? But then now, it was a sort of weird situation where my dad and mom didn't want me to tell any of the college coaches, you know, just because they wouldn't have given me either a scholarship or they wouldn't have accepted me in their college, which probably would have been true, so I'm fine with whatever that was about. But this also meant that I couldn't get a surgery yet, and also my mom wanted me to do all my high school events. So I basically did prom and grad night, and I did all of those with a torn ACL. I'm a true badass. Now, I had 2 decisions, really. I had RCC, Riverside City College, and I had the decision of Chaffey. Now, the reason why I put Chaffey into the mix is because the coach from Chaffey had 2 ACL tears, so I had a sort of relatability towards him. Plus, at the time, he was the only college coach that I had told about my injury. I didn't tell the RCC people, and especially any other colleges. And I know what you're wondering. Did any of the Centennial coaching staff know about your ACL tear? No, they don't pay attention to things like that. So they were totally clueless about it. But of course, I ended up buckling down with RCC. And then when it came time to actually practice, I just wasn't feeling good. My leg was honestly hurting left and right. But I only practiced for 2 days, and then I hurt my leg again. And then after that, I was like, well, now they know. So, obviously, what I did next was call the coach up and tell him, yeah, my ACL's torn. He's like,
well, are you gonna get it fixed?
and I'm like, yeah, now I am. And he's like,
Oh, great. Alright.
so now we're kind of here now. I'm finally getting a surgery done on August 16th, thank God. Although I had to go through many doctors in order to get the right one in order to schedule my appointment, because I'm trying to get back onto the field. Although, since it's taken so long to get an ACL surgery done, throughout all this time I was able to research and understand what kind of graft I wanted to use and how I wanted the surgery to be performed. So basically, it was kind of like a one-on-one conversation with me and the doctor, trying to schedule and understand what kind of surgery I needed. And if you guys are wondering what kind of surgery I am getting, I'm using the hamstring as an anterior cruciate ligament. Do I sound smarter when I say the full thing? I have very specific reasons for why I want to use that one, even though it's not the most common that a lot of people get when they get an ACL tear. The most common surgery is usually where people cut out the patellar tendon, the one that's under your kneecap in the front, because it has that extra bone healing, and it's usually dealing with a lot more pressure. That's usually the to-go option with an ACL surgery. But I concluded, since I'm tall and I'm big, not only are my hamstring muscles and tendons much larger than the average person and can deal with a lot more force, I'm gonna have knee problems in the future, and I might probably have even more knee problems if I cut out the patella tendon. So of course, with all the research that I was able to gather, I had made that decision. Since now that I'm 18, there's a lot of people that ask me why I don't make decisions on my own all the time, and that's because I rely on my parents to make those difficult decisions that I can't make for myself. But now is the time that I'm actually able to do it since I've been researching. So if you think that because you're 18, that you're technically an adult and you can do everything on your own, you're stupid. You still need the help of other people that are older and wiser than you. So of course, I make those silly decisions to wait until my parents can sign a signature on a paper, because it's just force of habit now. Also, if you want more recommendation on what kind of graft to use your own tissue if you're under 18. Or if you're just young in general. Because if you use a cadaver, aka someone else's tissue, to recreate your anterior cruciate ligament, then it's probably going to be worse off. So if you've torn your ACL and you're just not sure of what kind of decision you should make, talk to me, because I've researched this thing for freaking too long. Also, just because I'm cutting my hamstring doesn't mean you should dissect yours. It's just because that it seems best for my situation. Yours could be totally different. But it is honestly really good to know exactly what I'm going to be doing to myself. So, was waiting a long time to get a surgery good? Yeah, kind of. But I guess the trade-off is going through this whole goddamn pain spree, because I've heard it literally 3 times ever since I got it torn. The first time, of course, was during football practice back in December, and then the second time was when I was at a football camp. I was really trying to impress my dad because at the time he was really angry that I didn't get a D1 scholarship, and that's the case with many other dads whose sons didn't really get into the high gear. But anyways, after that I got hurt and everybody noticed that I had to leave early. And then the third time was, of course, at RCC. Now, after the whole football season, and it was finally 2018 in February, I had joined the track team. Shot put and discus, to be more precise. It was honestly super fun, and out of my entire high school career, it was the best time ever. And yes, I did do it with a torn ACL. But since I was actually able to heal for once, my leg was back in full motion, and I was able to do a lot of other things like run, sprint, and jog without a knee brace. But of course, when I actually had to throw, I wore my knee brace anyways, and it was the ACL brace this time because I actually had it. And also, if you're wondering why I was able to do all these things with a torn ACL, the doctors just summed it up to that I had stronger leg muscles than an average person, which honestly made me kind of feel like a superhero. And of course, in February, when I actually hurt myself during the football camp, I had to stay off for a week of shot put and discus, but because I knew how to properly react to the situation and know how to actually heal it, it was almost as if I had never left. I guess what I can recommend is, if you want to be sure you know exactly what you're doing and how to properly react to an ACL tear and how to heal it and all that good stuff, wait about 9 months. Honestly, the amount of time that it takes to heal one, but honestly, it's done wonders for me. Well, now honestly, questions that a lot of people would ask me is if I even like football, and why do I do it if I like a lot of nerd stuff? Plus, I don't even seem into it, so why am I playing it? One of the reasons why I was playing it before was because my parents wanted me to, but I knew that there was something more than that. Maybe it was because something like this would set me for life, and I just didn't know exactly how it would go. But I had faith in them that this will actually get me to where I need to go, and I could just, enjoy everything that I liked, while also going hard on the field. But something now that I know is that the main sports like football and basketball are the ones where you can get a full scholarship in, where they pay for your entire college experience. And when you play other sports, they only give you a little bit of money, which is just a normal scholarship. So now that I know that, I'm totally set on playing football for the next couple of years, even though my art ability could totally be at stake. If you guys remember, I had fractured my finger before, and that wasn't a clean experience. But I think it's entirely worth it if I can actually just play sports to get to a D1 college full time. And it's not just being at a D1 college, and also it's not only setting myself for life. It's so that I know that I made every possible decision to get to where I need to be, to make myself a better version of I could ever be. Becoming a better person than I already am is my ending goal. And of course, there's no end to that journey. Another lesson that I've learned from this is that no one's indestructible, and especially me. Honestly, when I had my ACL torn and I couldn't do anything for a good while, it made me think if I couldn't run ever again, giving me this thought that I wish I could run. One of the most empowering cycles of motion that's even put in anime openings because it's that message for keep going forward. And this is why I really like One Piece out of all the things. I have to bring this into the conversation. But Luffy, the main character, doesn't want to become king of the pirates just because he wants to be king of the pirates. It's because he wants to be the freest man in the world. And honestly, that makes me think about all the black people that suffered through slavery, and especially every single person that fought for black freedom to allow me and my parents to live in the middle class. As someone who's African American and black, this honestly is the opportunity of a lifetime, especially with me being blessed, or cursed if you want to put it that way, with height and super strength. Now that I have this in my mind, I don't really think there's anything that can stop me, really. And once I get older, I want to be comfortable knowing that I took every opportunity in order to get to where I am. I honestly would like to thank everybody that's tried to help me throughout this entire event, mainly my parents, my dog, and especially Miss Di and the trainers for all they were actually able to do, especially helping me with the therapy. Oh god, the therapy was insane. Also, thanks to Jack Coleman for showing me the better side of myself, so I never got too depressed going through this. And my coaches. No, I'm not kidding. If the coaches never pushed me to continue playing the season, perhaps I would have buckled down with an ACL surgery and used the patellar tendon when I want to use the hamstring. Anyways, I'm tired. I'm glad I recorded this video. And I can't wait for this ACL surgery, now that I know how to properly heal everything. So, see you guys later. Mr. Polar Bear Jack signing out. Peace. And remember, you don't stop drawing because you get old because you stop drawing. So keep drawing. Anyways, see you guys later. Okay, end of the video. Now let's play some Gorillaz Now Now album. Which honestly only has 2 good songs.
They like Savage, why you got a 12-car garage and you only got 15 cars? Cause we all just wanna be big rock stars and live in hilltop houses driving 15 cars. The girls got me